Welcome back to the prediction side of LMP Wrestling. We're back with new artwork on our SoundCloud page as well, as you guys can see, which is the beginning of our new project, Wrestling Rants. Why Wrestling Rants, you ask? Well, it's simple. We like to rant and rave about wrestling, and just to push that rebellious attitude just a step further, it's spelled with a Z because why the hell not, eh? My co-host James and I will continue to speak our wild opinions on the wrestling landscape, as well as discuss certain news articles, have a little bit of quizzes, more predictions, and most importantly, bring on guests, which leads me into this week's guest. AEW is hosting their annual pay-per-view All Out, and my friend Travis is here to help James and I predict what's going to happen this Saturday. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Travis. How's it going today?
I'm doing good. How about you, Shugo?
I'm doing all right today. And how about you, James? How are you?
Yeah, very good. A little bit tired. First day back at work for the first time in 6 months. So, yeah, that was hard.
Well, definitely congratulations on trying to get back into a little bit of a normal life.
Yeah, it's nice. Normality is coming back after such a long period where we've just kind of been sat on our sofas watching wrestling for a bit, which, to be honest, hasn't been all that bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of evolving like everything else in the world. But I mean, we've gone from no audiences into performance centers and everything like this to a massive, Thunderdome over on WWE, and now audiences are starting to show up over in AEW. So I mean, it's been one hell of a 6 months.
It really has. It's been emotional at times. We've seen the good, we've seen the bad, and we've seen the ugly.
Certainly have. Now, before we get into all the predictions, Travis, I'm curious because you're new to the wrestling industry. So I'm curious, how did you get into the wrestling business, and what have you come to like from it? Obviously, I kind of introduced it to you, but you've had an interesting couple of stories yourself.
Yeah, you definitely introduced it to me watching. What was it that we watched? We watched All Out last year together.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Yeah, I think this is your 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Well, I started with AEW. Started watching AEW. That was my first real experience to wrestling. Like, I knew what wrestling was and all that stuff, but all the words going around about, like, oh, it's fake, oh, it's fake, oh, it's fake, like, don't watch it, it's stupid, stuff like that. But once I started getting into it, really interesting, and AEW captured my attention a lot more than WWE has.
Now, what exactly has captured your attention? Because I mean, people hear this story all the time. They hear WWE over AEW or AEW over WWE or some sort of other promotion over one another. But you've sat down and watched both, and you're definitely an AEW guy. But what about WWE makes you get lost?
A lot of the storylines sort of make sense, but then they just either disappear altogether without any kind of closing moments or anything like that, or it just doesn't really make sense all the time. And it's hard to stick with the character if they just do random things all the time that doesn't seem human.
As somebody who's new to wrestling too, do you find AEW just kind of gradually lets you learn things? And despite the company being new, because AEW is fresh to the wrestling scene as the last couple of years, right? And WWE's been around for ages, it seems. But do you find that AEW is more comfortable bringing new fans in? If you're a new fan and you tune into WWE for a couple of weeks, it seems like it's a little bit overwhelming.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, the first time I watched WWE, I'm like, do I really want to do this? Like, this is so weird. Like, who are these people? Like, why should I care about them? Feuds that have lasted for, like, so long, you're just seeing and you're like, why is this happening?
And what's your take on it, James, too, with the disconnect between any wrestling promotion? Like, it doesn't, and I don't want to specifically pick on WWE here at all. I just want to, like, where is the disconnect when it comes to you and WWE?
Wrestling promotion needs to get the investment from their fans, and we've seen that from said company with the three initials beginning with a W and ending in an E, where they've lost that connection. They've lost that investment. There is no real requirement for a fan to be invested in a wrestler's story, because that story can literally, as Travis says, be dropped the next week with no rhyme nor reason. And we see it with WWE is the easiest example to give. For example, this week, Randy Orton got beaten within 7 minutes by Keith Lee at the Payback pay-per-view. However, he is still number one contender for Drew McIntyre's world title, even though Drew McIntyre beat him at SummerSlam. It doesn't make any sense. You don't have logical booking, and I think it, in my opinion, for me, if a wrestling company starts to offend my intelligence in a way, I will stop engaging with them. And it's, I must admit, with me, WWE this summer has completely lost me. And I wish that wasn't the case, because I do enjoy some of their performance, but I can't be invested with them anymore. And we see with AEW, we have a company that is able to build storylines, continue multiple sections, apart from maybe the women's division. But that's where I'm invested. I'm invested in multiple storylines. And that's what I think any successful company needs. It needs investment from their fans, and it needs to give them a reason to become invested.
It needs a payoff.
Exactly. You need to follow that journey.
Regarding Keith Lee, I mean, they kind of padded it over a little bit with having a little mini, like, I guess not tournament, but those 3 matches that happened on Raw, right, with Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. We all knew it was going to be the triple threat between them. But having Keith Lee getting over on Orton clean, I was shocked. I even looked at my partner that night, and I was like, there's got to be some sort of shenanigans that are going to happen here, because ain't no way Keith Lee is going to beat Randy Orton clean. But he did. And you know what? Apparently Vince is really high on him, so I'm just... I don't know where this will go. Maybe Randy Orton will beat Drew McIntyre. Who knows? Who knows what will happen with Keith Lee and Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, but... that is the WWE booking. I suppose you guys want to get on to the predictions, though, for AEW.
I'd just like to ask Travis a question. Just in terms of like the match types, have you got a favourite style of match, like singles, tag, or anything like that?
I really like the singles matches because they are more structured. They always end up being more structured. But I do like the tag matches in AEW, at least.
Is that more for the spots or the amazing sort of agility and bits that we see in those matches? Or
definitely.
Yeah.
Just the way like the teams work together, and they do flow together really well.
Yeah. I think with AEW, well, we've said it on this podcast, their tag division is unbelievably good, and it's because it's a tag division. They're proper teams. They're not just random people put together.
Yet we have champions that are 2 random people put together, but they pull it off really well.
Yeah. Well,
they definitely made us care with that, because as you guys know, I was a little worried when they put Kenny Omega and Adam Page together, but my God, I'm so happy they did with the feud that we've been getting out of it.
It's story. That's what you need. You need something to draw you in, and I mean, they were part of the Elite, so it's not as random as some of the pairings you see somewhere else, but yeah, it's we've definitely got a story there.
Yes, we do. So we'll talk more about that story. And that was a great question, James. I'm glad you asked that, because there's certain moves that we all, or it's not just certain moves, but there's certain matches that we all favor over others, and matches that we always look forward to. So asking that was a great question.
The matches that I don't really like are those huge, massive matches with like 12 people in the ring and stuff like that. It just gets out of control really fast.
Like the 5-man tags and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that, especially when you lose who's who's the legal man. That's one of the first criticisms I had of AEW's tag, is I couldn't work out who was legal sometimes, and I can imagine being a new viewer that is even more confusing.
Yeah, like those 5 main tag matches, and the 6th one as well. I felt like I wanted to go back and watch it like 3 or 4 times just so I could see everything that went on.
Don't blink.
Exactly.
Well, regarding AEW, All Out, we have the pre-show, and I'm actually surprised this match ended up on the pre-show, but so be it. And that is the tooth and nail match between our role model, Britt Baker, versus Big Swole. What do you guys both think about this match? I'll let you go first, James.
Cody, you missed out something.
Uh-oh, what did I do now?
Dr. Britt Baker.
Oh, no, she's going to kill me.
Yeah.
She's going to give you dental work.
I need it, too, so, maybe,
that might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, it might not be a bad thing. Maybe she'll give me a discount.
Yeah, I'm surprised this is pre-show. Tooth and nail match. You'll have to explain to me what this means, because unfortunately I've not seen Dynamite. So tooth and nail match is what, Cody? Could you explain for the listener as well?
Well, they told us on AEW that it would be a tooth and nail match.
Okay, thank you very much.
Did I miss anything, Travis?
Nope, not at all.
Right, okay.
Oh, shoot.
And no, listener, that was not prepared. Right.
I'm thinking that it's some sort of like, I don't know, they'll have a no DQ or some sort of weapon thing. They'll be able to do something that they couldn't normally do in a singles match. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, I got my WWE head there, and I was thinking extraction of a tooth and extraction of a nail. Is that something they might do with some pliers? I don't know. No, they won't do that.
If they literally take out a hammer and nails and try to put nails in people's teeth, I'm going to be concerned.
Given that this is on the pre-show, and this is Britt Baker's in-ring return, I am suggesting she is not fit yet. And they've just booked themselves into a corner, but it's tricky. I'd say Big Swole and Rebel gets pinned because Britt isn't fit and ready. Because it does surprise me it's on the pre-show. I'm very surprised by that. If such a big star of the women's division, in fact, the women's division, is coming back and you're on pre-show, it's not a good look.
It's not even the fact that it's not even a good look. It's the fact that this feud has been kind of going on for the last 2 months or so. So just to put like a 2-month feud on the pre-show is very odd.
Especially the momentum it had about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was huge, and it's just cooled off a lot.
So we got Big Swole for James. What about you, Travis?
I think I'm thinking the same thing with Big Swole. Britt Baker definitely should, I feel like she should win just because she's our role model, but, that's just me. Just, falling in her, footsteps and being like, oh my god, she's the best ever. But I never really got behind Big Swole. I don't know what is better. Maybe she just reminds me of too many people I know, but I still am going to think Big Swole is going to win, though, just with how things are going.
Yeah, with regarding on the pre-show, I mean, all three of us apparently are picking the same person because I'm thinking Big Swole here too. Like, I want Britt Baker to win, but when it comes to predictions, you never pick with your heart because you'll always be disappointed. So, I mean, I do want Britt Baker to win, but I think given that it's on the pre-show, maybe you're onto something there, James. That the fact that maybe she's not fully recovered, and maybe this is going to escalate into another match on Dynamite in a month or so, or in a couple of weeks, or maybe even the following week right after. So, given everything we just talked about, it's 3 for 3 for Big Swole for the pre-show. All right. Well, this one will be interesting for us all to talk about, and that'll be the 21-man Casino Battle Royal. Winner receives a future AEW World Championship match. We don't know when. We don't know if it's going to be at Full Gear. We don't know if it's going to be on a week of Dynamite. But right now, the names are listed as Austin Gunn, the Best Friends, Trent and Chuck, Billy Gunn, Brian Cage, Darby Allin, Eddie Kingston, Jake Hager, Lance Archer, Ricky Starks, Santana and Ortiz, Sean Spears, the Butcher and the Blade, and the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix versus a few that are to be determined. But with the names that are given right now, I mean, you can have some wild guesses on some surprise appearances, but out of those names, any idea who's going to get that AEW World Championship match? James, we'll start with you.
That list of names is tantalizing. I mean, you've got, since he's made his debut with AEW, Eddie Kingston has taken that division and he has got himself some of the toughest, baddest people in the roster to back him up. Pentagon Jr., Rey Fenix, the Butcher and the Blade, the Butcher and the Blade are, I feel, one of my favourite tag teams that aren't the top level. They're their sort of best friends level, not somebody that you can see the title on, but you know what, maybe in a year or so, possibly so.
Yeah, they're good.
I mean, looking at it, out of those names, I would go for Eddie Kingston because of said faction. But Lance Archer's there, and everybody dies. So he has got to be in there. Darby Allin, you could also put a good claim in for. There are a few in there that are obviously cannon fodder. I mean, Billy, even though he's huge, and I always forget how big he is until he stands next to the people in the AEW, and you go, oh my word, Billy Gunn is huge. Yeah, with Eddie Kingston for me. But can I maybe, this is complete fantasy booking and I have no information that says this person is available or is even in the country to say that he's able to take part in this match.
Go for it, man. That's what we're here for. Predictions.
Pac.
That is...
So, yeah. You've got the Death Triangle that was formed at the beginning of the year. They formed with Eddie Kingston. Pac doesn't seem the forgiving type. I'd just love to see him back in the ring, but that's more of a personal thing. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he would have been back already.
It's a good shout though, because if I mean, as we all know, he has been stuck in the UK, but because of all the travel restrictions. But hey, if they kept it quiet and they somehow got him over here, maybe on a private jet or something, or God knows what you know, if Pac enters that, I wasn't even thinking about that, but if he enters that, yeah, he'll definitely win.
Mm.
Travis, what about you?
Once you mentioned Pac, I instantly thought the same thing. Not gonna lie. I'm just looking at this list of names and I'm just like, there's so many people. It could be really anyone. Like, there's like Eddie Kingston, yes, totally. Like with what is going on and that kind of preview we got last night at Dynamite, like I could see it. I really like Darby Allin. I do. He's a great wrestler, and you see the motivation for him to win this and stuff like that. And he did amazing in the last Battle Royale as well. I'm not sure. There's way too many people to even guess.
Pick just random two.
I'm gonna say either Eddie Kingston or maybe Jake Hager. He's maybe. Just maybe. There hasn't been any build for him though, so that's why it's just a maybe. But
we will be talking about the AEW World Championship between Jon Moxley and MJF. But from looking at this list, you have to wonder to yourself, who out of this list is going to either face Jon Moxley or MJF. And I'm looking at this going, well, Jake Hager's pretty much already kind of fought Jon Moxley. Darby Allin's already fought him. Brian Cage has already fought him. So we don't want repeats, right? As fans, you want fresh new feuds. So I'm thinking the final three, if nobody special comes back, like Pac, for example, or the Beyond rumor. I'm going to share a rumor with you two right now, and I've already told Travis about this. There are freaking rumors out there that Brock Lesnar is going to come into All Out this Saturday because he is now a free agent. I don't want him. I don't want him anywhere near AEW. I just don't. I don't. I really, really don't. I'm sure it'll be exciting, and I'm sure he'll clean house, but we already have enough big guys. He can take his F5 and stay over in WWE because we already have the F10 in Wardlow. So yep. We're good. We're good, Lesnar. You don't need to come over. It's fine. But as for putting all the special appearances aside, I really do think it'll be between Shawn Spears, Eddie Kingston, and Lance Archer. Because as you say, everybody dies. And Lance Archer, I don't believe, has gone up against Jon Moxley. But he has gone up against Jon Moxley in New Japan, I believe. Mm-hmm. I believe that was a good feud. Mm-hmm. And Eddie Kingston has been really making a name for himself in the last few weeks since he's appeared on Dynamite. And Shawn Spears is racking up those victories. So I think those are three fresh heels that would go against Jon Moxley. Now, if it's MJF, those could switch. So as I guess... But if I'm going to pick two, I'd say Lance Archer or Shawn Spears. So there we go. We got a few different ones. We had some good discussion there for predictions. God only knows what happens, but I'm actually really hoping Pac comes in. Because Pac versus Jon Moxley,
it's a chef's kiss.
Right? Exactly. So moving on to the 8-man tag team match that's been kind of building up because of what happened to Cody. Brody Lee is our TNT championship. The Dark Order is starting to rule over AEW, and I can't believe they broke him like that. Brody Lee just came out and owned Cody. Took that title, dumped the old title in pieces on top of him. Now, talking about his chef's kiss, that was beautiful. That was something I didn't expect. And it happened on a special night on Saturday. So now we have the Dark Order versus the Natural Nightmares, Scorpio Sky, and Matt Cardona, which are two other people who have faced Cody. So they're all sticking up for him. And Matt Cardona is really close with Cody, as we know, the previous Zack Ryder from WWE. Who do you got and why, James?
I can only see this going one way, and that's the Dark Order. After that Saturday night Dynamite, which... I remember watching that, and I didn't know what had happened. I'd managed to avoid all the spoilers here in the UK. I sat down, watched it, and I could not believe my eyes. That was a squash match. That was a brand new champion. The Dark Order, this thing that was laughed at in December when they had no direction. They were just a joke. And they've built them up over the year to this dominant force. And it's the best four that you could have in this match as well. You've got Brody Lee, you've got Evil Uno, you've got Stu, Don't Call Me Dick Grayson, and Colt Cabana. Now, Colt Cabana for me is the little bit of the Dark Order I still don't get, because surely he knows what they're up to now. He's been there long enough. He can't kind of play the naive damsel in distress, effectively, that he's playing. But the Natural Nightmares, Matt Cardona, and Scorpio Sky, it's too disjointed for me to take on basically the Dark Order's elite. Effectively, this is the elite of the Dark Order. So I don't think this will last long. I really don't. I think Brody Lee will just clean up shop once he's tagged in.
Yeah, what about you, Travis?
Totally the same thing. If anyone's going to go against the Dark Order, it's not going to be this mismatched team of, like, people that support Cody. It's going to be, like, something bigger than this. And I can see the Dark Order rising from this and, like, becoming even stronger.
Yeah, I agree on both of those fronts because, it's... As you say, like these four These four, no, they're not random people, but yeah, these four people they're really going to take down the Dark Order right now, and they have all of this momentum, and Brody Lee's on a tear. I mean, we could have Cody run in and kind of maybe cost them, and then that could continue the feud between him and Brody. We could. But I would rather have Cody just wait on the sidelines until next week or the next couple of weeks, and I would rather have the Dark Order dominate these four, like absolutely dominate them.
I mean, with Cody, I think the longer Cody stays away, the better.
Yeah.
And then a formation of the Nightmare family to try and take down the Dark Order might be a good way to come back, but that's 6 months down the line. That's a long way away. Because right now the Dark Order, as we've all said, are just so strong.
Yeah, they've certainly capitalized on that. So I guess the three of us are thinking Dark Order for this 8-man tag team match?
Yes.
All right, well, moving on to the number one tag team contender championship match. I believe it's a number one contender. I thought they mentioned that a couple of weeks ago where the final two would go on. So I'm just going to go with it, and it's the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express, number one tag team championship contender match. Who do you got and why, James?
I have got Jurassic Express.
All right, go on.
Here we go. So the Young Bucks, we've seen over the past few weeks, the Young Bucks have been turning heel before our eyes. Their treatment of Adam Page and their alignment with Kenny Omega, it's starting to turn on them, and they're acting like dicks, basically. And Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy Luchasaurus, I believe with the power that Luchasaurus has, he can take down a Young Bucks that are maybe a little bit too big for their boots right now. I think we've got Matt and Nick focused on other things. They're too focused on FTR. They're too focused on what Adam Page did during the gauntlet match. Their eye is off the ball, and I believe in a booking term as well. So Jurassic Express makes sense for that number one contenders match, because the next match for the tag team titles, Jurassic Express can afford to lose that match, whereas the Young Bucks can't afford to lose that match in a way to be deemed title ready. If we keep the Young Bucks away from that scene for a little bit longer, it will build a frustration between the brothers, and we'll see more desperation between them. So I'm going Jurassic Express.
All right, what about you, Travis?
I was thinking the same thing in regards of the booking. Like, if FTR takes the championships off of Kenny Omega and Adam Page, and then their next title defense is against the Young Bucks, that feels like it's too soon. Like, it feels like it should be something that is built upon for a later date. So I feel like Jurassic Express should win this to then possibly lose to FTR if they win, which I think they will.
Yeah, the long-term booking here is a very, very good decision. I kind of hope that if Full Gear happens again in November, like I believe it will, I think that's when that'll be the best time to have the Young Bucks versus FTR, because FTR is going to have to defend against a few people, before we build that up to because we already know they have beef. We already know it's FTR, Young Bucks. They want to face each other. It's supposed to be one of the biggest tag team matches of the year or of the last 10 years. Everybody's been building it up for years. Even online before they were even in AEW, people were talking about it when the Revival was in WWE. So it's something that they're just constantly teasing. So if you want FTR to build up their momentum once they win the tag team champions, if they win the tag team champions at All Out, having Jurassic Express win that, and this is no knock on Jurassic Express, I see Jurassic Express being tag team champions at some point in the next year. But right now, I believe FTR beating Kenny Omega and Adam Page, and then having a few wins on their belt, literally. FTR beating Jurassic Express, beating another tag team, maybe beating one more, and then come 2 months from now, it's November, they defend against the Young Bucks at Full Gear, and maybe they win. So I guess we're all saying Jurassic Express.
Another agreement, yes.
Well, it seems like we all understand the booking or what we would like to book. But ask yourself this, though. If the Young Bucks do win, would you be disappointed? Because so far they have reminded us that they have some good long-term booking plans in place.
If the Young Bucks win, I trust the process enough to go with the story. So I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'd be very shocked, but it's nice to be shocked in a good way.
I wouldn't be disappointed either way. No matter what they do with the booking, I believe it will turn out great.
All right, cool. Well, another match that it could go either way, and I'm sure I don't care. I mean, I don't think people would be that upset if either man lost, but that is in the most creative match I've heard of in a long time, and that is the Mimosa Mayhem match with Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy. What do you guys think of this match? James, start with you.
When it got announced last week by Chris Jericho, I couldn't quite believe what I was hearing. This is going to be an interesting match because you could call it either way. You could say Chris Jericho is too big to lose this type of match against Orange Cassidy. However, you could say that this type of match suits Orange Cassidy because Jericho losing by falling into a vat of orange juice and champagne isn't really a pinfall or submission. So I've ummed and ahed with this quite a bit, and I'm going for Orange Cassidy because he's the babyface of the moment. This type of match doesn't really damage Jericho because he can fall into the vat in a comical fashion and claim that it wasn't really a proper wrestling match and a proper victory by Orange Cassidy. So he comes out of it really undamaged. I think if you beat Cassidy with this match, his momentum in a way gets slowed down. I think he's on a streak at the moment where we're seeing this side of Cassidy where he is trying. And I think that is building him to the point where in the next year he will be challenging for the AEW title, the top belt, which I always wanted him to do, but I didn't think we'd get to it as quickly as what I think we will now. So yeah, I'm going Cassidy for this.
I mean, and also if you think about it, if MJF does win and Orange Cassidy wins this match, Orange Cassidy could go after MJF.
Exactly.
What do you think, Travis?
Honestly, when I first seen the Mimosa Mayhem match, I'm just like, what is this? Like, what have we come to?
It's wrestling. These matches happen sometimes.
But honestly, I think either way it's going to be really great. I've really been enjoying the feud between Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. And honestly, at this point, I'd say Orange Cassidy winning it would be hilarious and awesome. And it would push it will push him more to maybe go towards more serious matches and stuff like that instead of, sleeping. And but if Chris Jericho wins this, like, honestly, I don't think it will be that big of a deal. Like, it wouldn't help him in any way, but it wouldn't hurt him if he lost either. Like, I don't know actually I don't know who will win at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult one with the two because it could go either way. And I think if obviously I'm not going to start trying to control the match and say what I would have done, but if we really were going to go full force with the Mimosa Mayhem, I wouldn't have had the submission or pin there because you can win the match by pin, submission, or dunking your opponent in all the champagne and orange juice. So I mean, someone can still get pinned or submitted or put into the drink. So I think it would be more funny for Chris Jericho to fall in there because of his reaction, because of how he's been reacting the last few weeks, with him coming out every single week and his jacket continually getting more orange. Like, it's the little things that he's been doing. And then he asked, was it Santana or Ortiz? I can't remember which. He was like, does my jacket still smell? Yeah, it does. He's like, damn it, and everything. So it's just like, it's the little things, and the fact that he is losing, but he's making it funny, and he's making himself still seem strong. So I think Chris Jericho losing here would be the right decision. And if Chris Jericho gets himself dunked in Mimosa, then I tell you, it'll be hilarious. I mean, at least he'll have a good time. He'll have quite a good buzz on, but he won't be feeling upset for long. Let me tell you. So yeah, I guess I'll have to go with Orange Cassidy as well.
Personally, I think if they don't have anyone being dunked in the Mimosa, it will just be a waste of a match.
It will be, yeah, it totally will be. That'll be a waste of a lot of good orange juice. I love my orange juice. Putting mimosa or putting champagne on this side. I love orange juice. Don't waste that shit. All right, well, we're now halfway into the card. We're at the Broken Rules match. If Matt Hardy loses, he leaves AEW. Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. James, what do you think of Matt Hardy possibly leaving?
Well, this is where I criticize AEW a little bit. Didn't we have a conclusion to this feud last week when Matt Hardy was put through the table by Sammy Guevara?
We kind of did, but he's been very vocal on social media about it, Matt Hardy, and so has Sammy. So yeah, I know it's not. AEW, a lot of wrestling companies have been doing things more social media involved, and I know that sucks for some people because a lot of people just don't tune into social media stuff. But yeah, Matt Hardy's been going on YouTube, he's been going on his Twitter, and Sammy Guevara has been doing the same. So they've been still talking trash about each other, and Matt Hardy, and even on BTE as well. So they've been kind of milking this feud, but this will be the end of it, though. I mean, if whatever happens, I think this is the last. The last of it.
Yeah, it definitely is the conclusion of the feud. It just this wasn't helped by the suspension of Sammy. I think that really hurt this feud.
Yes,
that's a different issue that I won't go into right now. But the fact that it's if Matt Hardy loses, he leaves AEW, to me, says that Hardy wins this. Because I'm thinking, is it a version of Matt Hardy that leaves AEW?
There's the question.
Do we get Big Money Matt leaving AEW and then all the other versions stay? It's not a match that I look at and it infuses me with confidence. I am a huge Matt Hardy fan. From back in the day, from the Hardy Boys, from the first time I discovered Broken Matt, it's one I wish I was really looking forward to. But I'm saying Matt Hardy wins this because of the stipulation more than my investment in the feud. I think Sammy can afford the loss because he's a developing talent, and it also helps Matt's argument, come with me rather than Chris Jericho, because look what I've done to you.
What about you, Travis?
I think the same thing. Like, because of the stipulation, if he loses, he leaves AEW. I don't think that's going to happen. Just to be honest, like.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry. The only thing that I worry about is what James mentioned about the multiple personalities of Matt Hardy. So it's like if Matt Hardy leaves AEW, Damascus must stay around because he is 3,000 years old. You know, the good Lord knows if Damascus will show up and he's like, I'm not Matt Hardy, I'm Damascus, and I'm 3,000 years old and all that jazz. So I don't know. I really don't know if they'll get technical with it, but I do think right now that the stuff that's been going on between the two of them, I think Matt Hardy's just the right person to book.
The version of Matt Hardy leaving feels like the other company getting its way out of something. And AEW doesn't do that. Yeah.
The only thing that I was going to add was the Broken Rules match. It sounds like it might be a cinematic match, kind of like the Stadium Stampede.
Yes, definitely. Which we're going to get all different versions of Matt, which is going to be fun.
Yeah, he always is. He always is quite the character or characters. So we have 3 matches left on the card. So we're all saying Matt Hardy there. But now we get into the nitty-gritty of the AEW World Tag Team Championship, which might be the most talked about and most exciting match on the card just because of how long this feud has been going on for. And that is Kenny Omega and Adam Page versus FTR. It's involved the Young Bucks, which we previously spoke about already. So, James, let me have it. What do you think of this match, and who do you think is going to win and why?
I don't want this match to happen, Cody, because I've been enjoying the ride so much. Revolution happened in February, where we all were expecting Page and Omega to turn on each other and the Young Bucks to win the title. And that didn't happen. We had a huge tease. Buckshot Lariat aimed in on Omega. Oh no, just leaning up against the ropes by Page. And somehow we've got to September and they are still champions, but the story has twisted to Omega being the bad guy in this and Page being the babyface. I felt so sorry for Adam Page during Tag Team Appreciation Night, where the question was asked, who's the best tag team in the world? Kenny Omega says the Young Bucks with no hesitation. And Adam Page looks at him, hurt, going, I was going to say us. And Omega goes, yeah, but we're just 2 single guys who've got the belts. And at that point, I thought, Kenny Omega, I love you, but you must die. Because you are being an absolute dick to your tag team partner there. You've left him high and dry. So, FTR, they've come to AEW. They've done exactly what they said they would do. They have come in unbeaten. They are trying to create the tag team division in their image. How did they do that even better? They've split Adam Page and Kenny Omega with the beer and the bits and pieces that they've done together. They're going to split them in the ring again, and we're going to see the break up, unfortunately, of Kenny Omega and Adam Page, and FTR with Tully Blanchard will walk away as your tag team champions and redefine this tag team division that was set up by the Young Bucks in their image. This is storytelling to an absolute T. And I don't care if it's predictable. I don't care. I want to see this match because I reckon if the fans were there, this might even be better than Revolution's match. I think technically it might still be better, but because we haven't got as many fans there, I don't think the reaction will be quite there. But it's going to be one hell of a ride, and I cannot wait for this match at all. It's all out.
Yeah. The only thing I can say about that is when Kenny Omega said, the Young Bucks are the best tag team. Honestly, from a critique, even if I had the belts, like if me and my buddy just won the tag team belts, but the Young Bucks were known for being one of the best tag teams in the world, and I wasn't really in the tag team division, I wouldn't be able to claim that I'm the best, even though I have the titles, because I don't have the background to say stuff like that. So when Kenny was like that, I wasn't completely mad at him because I was like, well, Kenny's a very humble man. So he always has been very humble, his face character at least, right? So he's like, well, I'm not the best. Of course I'm not the best. We're just two singles competitors who have been put together, who have won. It doesn't make us the best. It just makes us good at what we're doing. So, I mean, I got that. But between the heel and the face dynamic through all of this, yes, the Young Bucks went down the heel tube, like, you know, the structure there, or the stage on AEW, but Adam Page did do something very wrong last week on AEW, and he was the guilty party, and he got kicked out of the Elite for it. So, but now the Young Bucks are acting heel like they've done something wrong, even though they haven't. And then there's teases of Kenny Omega going back to the cleaner. So there's just so much depth of where this could go, and so many personalities are afloat. There's no black and white like there usually is. Like even in WWE, sometimes you go, oh, you know, WWE ever really puts, you know, heel versus heel versus heel. It's like with Braun Strowman and the Fiend and Roman Reigns. People are saying, oh, the Fiend's going to turn face. What if the Fiend just stays the Fiend? What if Roman Reigns just stays heel? What if Braun Strowman just stays heel? Let the story play out, right? And that's what they're doing right now with these characters, is the story is playing out. So Travis, what do you think about it?
Honestly, this has been a long time coming, and I officially started watching Dynamite in late January. So, like, they were the champions already, and like they were already in a dynamic of all that. So I didn't see the start of all of that stuff. And just from what I've seen since January, and that tease in February of Hangman turning heel and stuff like that, like, we all thought that that's where it was gonna, like, where the champions were gonna break off and, you know, start going into singles and have a feud with each other and stuff like that. And I was shocked in February when that didn't happen. I was honestly kind of sad that it didn't, because I really wanted to see it. But I'm glad that they didn't do that then. And I kind of want to see the feud go down now. But if they did something different, maybe having Adam Page feuding only against the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega taking their side on it, that would be really interesting as well. But I don't know.
So do you think FTR or Kenny Omega and Adam Page?
FTR, totally.
FTR, totally. Okay, so all three of us are thinking FTR here. Mm-hmm. We will see the chips fall at All Out.
They better win.
All right, we got 2 matches left. Moving on to the AEW Women's Championship. It's a singles match. Hikaru Shida versus the NWA Women's Champion Thunder Rosa. Now, this is a very interesting match. Personally, I think it's just going to be a classic banger. I think it's just going to have Thunder Rosa's best, Hikaru Shida's best, but I do think Hikaru Shida will retain. What about you, James?
I don't know with this one at all. I've watched Thunder Rosa on NWA Power since the announcement that she was going for the AEW Women's World Title, and she's good. Wow. This match is going to bang. Shida's fantastic, and I'm sad with Shida because she's got this belt and she's got no challengers because of the way the division is and the way that things have happened, which isn't her fault. This belt needs a run. We thought that the previous champions would go a lot longer with their belt title reigns than they did, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Thunder Rosa win this, actually, because I don't think it would be that much of a shock. And I think it gives us more storyline possibilities for the division if the title has been taken away from AEW. You may run the risk of damaging the belt's prestige, but to be honest, with the division as it stands, I'd rather see them do something different rather than keep it on Shida. So I'm going Thunder Rosa.
What about you, Travis?
I was thinking Hikaru Shida just because Thunder Rosa is an outsider to AEW, and like unless they gave Thunder Rosa a contract with AEW, I wouldn't see it going into her hands.
Yeah, I pretty much feel the same way about that. I mean, James, you make some really good points there about Thunder Rosa and how good she is, and how there's a chance that she could totally get it. And with the state of the women's division as it is in AEW, I mean, yeah, there really isn't much going for it. I mean, I don't know if that has to do with the pandemic. I don't know if that has to do with not having many booking plans. But I do think it's about damn time now that a year into AEW, we've gone a full year now from All Out from last September to All Out this September. And I think the women's division has to get a grip. And I mean get a grip as in we got to get some good storylines going. We got to get that championship being showcased every single week. Possible tag team titles. Like we had the tag team tournament on YouTube. That was good. I really enjoyed the fact that they did that. And shining the women's division with the NWA women's division, I think is a good move too. But I think Hikaru Shida should retain, as I said before, and then we can just get her into more feuds on AEW. If the title is going to change hands, I want somebody from AEW taking it from Hikaru Shida.
Okay. So if Shida wins, who's her next opponent?
Her next opponent, well, we might get Nyla Rose again because of how many wins she has. We might get Penelope Ford. She could come in there. Or, depending on what happens with Big Swole and Britt Baker, we could have one of the two as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And eventually, I'd like to see that magical girl, Yuka Sakazaki, come back because she's certainly magical.
Yeah. Yes, please.
So I mean, there's a few potentials, but who knows what plans they have. So going on to the main event, we got about five minutes or so left of this podcast. So I want your guys' opinions on the AEW World Championship. Jon Moxley versus MJF, or I'm sorry to MJF, Dictator John. And the paradigm shift is banned. Now, this is a very interesting feud, especially the character development that has come from MJF. He went from 0 to 100 yesterday on Dynamite, and it was absolutely beautiful. Like, how you doing, little buddy? Are you okay in there? And then Wardlow breaks down the door. He pulls him out. He talks like he's angry, and then he talks like he's insane. And then he beats the living snot out of Jon Moxley before it goes off air. So what do you guys think about this? James, what is your opinion? Who do you got and why?
Now, this isn't my idea. I'm going to have to credit Michael Hamflett from What Culture Wrestling.
Okay.
He came out with a scenario for this match. So MJF, Jon Moxley, the paradigm shift is banned. How did Jon Moxley beat Brody Lee? He beat him with a sleeper hold. He had to put the big guy to sleep because the paradigm shift didn't work.
How did he beat Brian Cage too?
How did he beat Brian Cage? Again, he tapped him out because Taz had to throw in the towel. Now, MJF in a sleeper hold or in an arm bar, whatever submission hold it is, what does MJF carry to the ring all the time? He has his scarf. What did MJF do to Cody in the title match? He threw in the towel. Wardlow will throw in the scarf for MJF. Finishing the match. Moxley wins. Wardlow and MJF are at loggerheads. What do? MJF hasn't submitted himself. He won't see himself as losing. It keeps himself strong, keeps himself as the arrogant, self-righteous guy that we all love to hate. So Jon Moxley, as I say, did somebody else's theory, which since hearing, I cannot get out of my head. It just seems perfect.
It certainly sounds like a good idea. I really like that idea a lot. Now, before I get to you, before I get to your last prediction there, Travis, I just wanted to quickly give you a thank you for coming on to the podcast for the first time.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you had fun on the predictions. So, and we'll definitely have to have you on again sometime when we're talking about the daily wrestling in the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months. But putting all that aside, your last prediction of the night, Jon Moxley versus MJF. Who do you got and why?
Jon Moxley. Just because I can't see MJF taking it yet. Like I see Jon Moxley, he can have it for a few more months, then lose it to somebody else. But MJF has had a lot of character build these last few months or weeks, I guess, going up for Jon Moxley. But other than that, he hasn't really had many matches. He hasn't really been around, really. He's here because he won 2 times and then never had any more matches. So that's just how I feel.
Yeah, I can't see the title coming off Jon Moxley yet either. Whatever happens in this match, I think it's going to be good. But I mean, if MJF walks away with the title, I expect some crazy hateful love to happen within AEW and its fans, because MJF is that, as I've always said, he's that asshole that AEW needs. And if he has the title, I can only imagine with how much character growth that has come from him. But I do think Jon Moxley will retain. I've been saying it for a while now, and I do think at some point Kenny Omega is going to be the one that takes it off Jon Moxley. Mm-hmm. So as it may be, will he be a heel? Will he be a face? I don't know. But with that, that's when we will wrap things up. Thanks, James, and thank you, Travis, for coming on and doing All Out predictions.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
Absolutely. And thanks to everyone who continues to listen to the podcast. If you want to hear your voice on here, simply send me a PM or James a PM on any of our social media. You can find James on Twitter at LMP_jam, and you can find the podcast at SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, and you can search us on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. With all that, you guys enjoy All Out this Saturday. This has been LMP Wrestling, and we are signing off.